Hi everyone, in this video I would like to show you how you can add a loop that goes over CSV file, get the lines and process each line. To demo that, we will enhance our simple RPA flow that we've started to create on the previous sessions, in which we want to create a sales order request inside our Oracle EBS system. So we have the first service invocation which creates the header of this sales order, and we will now add the load of the order lines, and we will take these lines from a CSV file looking like that. This is the CSV file with the order lines. The first line is a header lines which give a name for each column, and then the data lines which include the item ID, the quantity and a date. It is presented in Excel, but it is a simple CSV line. So how would we load this file and process the line? For that we will press the plus sign here, and we will choose the loop block. And we have different types of loops that we can use. For this purpose we will use the type that is called CSV file, which is looping over CSV file. We can also change the step name to say loop over lines, so it will be clear. And the next thing we need to do is to put the file path that needs to be loaded. And the most important thing here on the file path is to make sure that the path that we are putting here will be a file path that is accessible for our service manager server, because this will be the one that will process the file. So it needs at least read access in our case to this file. So we can put here directly a file path that exists or is accessible to the service manager, or we can decide that we want to get it as a process input, as a parameter from the outside. We can also take it from a previous step like we did in other cases, or we can decide to upload it right now to our server. So I just press on the upload file, and I got here the file directory of my service manager. I'm currently mapped to the data folder, which is a good place to put files in it. And now I can upload the file from my local system. This is where I keep my file on my local system. I'll just select it, and it will be uploaded to the server. So right now two things happen. First of all, my file was taken from the local file system and was uploaded to the data directory on the service manager server, which means that now it is accessible to the server. It has a copy that is accessible to the server. And the second thing was to put here the correct path to this file. So we have a special utility to get the server path, and then we have the rest of the path which points us to the file that we have just loaded. So now we have the path, and the loop can go over the file. Let's see the other flags that we have here. As you remember, our file has header line, the first line. So it makes sense to keep here the mark that the first line is a header. If we had a CSV file without any header line, we should have unchecked this option. And if our CSV file starts with some lines that we want to skip, like some header lines that are not in need, we can instruct the loop to skip this line and start from a different line than the first line. Okay, so now we have the loop set up to read the CSV file, and we can add inside the loop the processing that we want to do, which will be to call a service that adds a line to my sales order. And we have such a service. It's called create sales order add line. This is the service, so we will just add it. And now just keep in mind that the invocation of this service is inside the loop, which means that each iteration the loop will get a line from the CSV file and will process this and will invoke this service. And what we need to do is to pass the values from the current line that was read from the CSV file and put it in the proper place of the inputs for this service. And this service gets 4 inputs. It gets the ID of the item, the quantity, the date, and the index of the line, whether it is the first, the second, the third line, etc. So how do we hook the values from the CSV file to the inputs of the service? We'll just press the edit button, select the select value option, and Here on the previous step we will take the loop step, loop over lines. Here we will find the values that are available inside the loop as it is reading a file. So for the ordered item, I will just take the value from the item column inside the CSV file that I'm reading right now. And for the quantity, I just map it to the quantity column, and the date to the date column. And the last one is the index, on which line I'm currently processing, and this I can take from a predefined variables that were created with the loop. One of them is the row number, is the number of the iteration, so I'll just select it. And that's it. I've passed all the parameters, I've mapped all the parameters from the file to the input parameters, and the last thing I need to do is to state that I want to keep the session alive, because this service is a partial service, and like we explained in previous sessions, we need to keep the session open for the next call as it is inside the loop. And that's it. We are ready to process or to run this RPA. Let's save it and let's try to run it. Here it is. It was processed, it added the lines. This is the new order number. And if I will take it from here and I'll go to my EBS system, here it is, I can put here the order number that was just processed, press on the find, open it, and if I'll go to the line items, I'll find all the items from the file added here to my new sales order request. So, mission accomplished. Thank you.